Good morning, Year 7. You've chosen to find out through listening what the answers are to the different questions on the sheet rather than reading, and that's absolutely fine so long as we get to the same outcome. Alright, why did Motte and Bailey castles take some time to build? As I tell you about the answers, you need to be pausing to record them onto your sheet. Maybe I'm not going to give you as obvious as the answer. You have to think about what I say, but it'll be very close too. A Motte and Bailey castle, if you have a look at it, are two big man-made mounds of earth. You can see there's a little ditch around them, and that's one of the places that they will have dug up to be able to create the huge mound of the Motte. So you have a look at that little mound that was made, the hill that was effectively made by man, and then have a little think, why did they take some time to build? If you had to create that hill, how long would it take you? Think about that. Two, why did the Normans probably do, or what did they do as a quick defensive structure at first? Well, because it took so long to build a Motte and Bailey castle, compared to a stone castle, it was quick, and this was one of the advantages, but it still took a while to build them. So as they were setting them up or getting in preparation to build them, they probably dug the ditch around the Motte and Bailey, so there was at least something which made it difficult for the Anglo-Saxons to attack across if they wanted to rebel against the Normans. And they maybe started to build the wall around the wooden fence, should I say, around it first, which, by the way, is called a palisade, if you're not sure about that. So yeah, they probably dug a ditch, dug the palisade fence. How many people did the Normans control by using their castles? Well, I'm going to get you, I might have told you this bit in the lesson, who knows, but for you guys listening, there were 7,000 Normans. That was it. So in the whole of this country, there was roughly 4 times the number of people who come to this school, who were in control of all of England. And the number of people they were trying to control was 2 million. This is why castles were so important. They needed something which would help them to control this population. What crucial bit of equipment did the Motte and Baileys protect from the Normans? If you remember back to the Battle of Hastings, you might remember that archers and cavalry were important in the victory. Well, it was the cavalry, it was the war horses which the castles helped to protect. And if the Normans lost their war horses, it was one of the main things they used in battle. They were specialists on war horses. So they needed to protect them, and they kept them in the Motte and Bailey castles for protection. So that was really, really important. And the man on horseback with his shield and chainmail could easily cut through foot soldiers. So if there was a rebellion, they could ride out of the castle and go and sort it out. Where were the Motte and Baileys built, and who particularly did they guard against? Well, there were four main threats to William. One, the Welsh. So he built a lot of castles on what was called the March at Earldoms, or the Welsh Marches, the bit between Wales and England. Built loads of castles there to keep the Welsh out. 2, Scotland. So he built quite a number of castles up in the north because the Scottish were another threat. 3, the Danes. So the Vikings coming across. So there was quite a number of castles built along the coast, especially on the east coast, because that's where Denmark is. And then the other threat was the Anglo-Saxons. So the castles were often built in cities and towns where lots of people lived, to control those huge, large numbers of people. So there's 4 places. And what does the Domesday Book say about what happened to some places when castles were built? Well, because as I've just said, a lot of them were built in towns and cities, and not way out in the countryside as you might see in films, but right in the middle of towns and cities. They had to knock down loads of houses to have them built. Like 166 houses destroyed in Lincoln, nearly 300 in York, where they built 2 castles. Imagine if you were the Anglo-Saxons in these cities, you'd be fed up. You might want to rebel, and actually the Anglo-Saxons did sometimes, but they really struggled to take these castles. You might be thinking, what's the Domesday Book? I probably told you in the lesson, but the Domesday Book is William decided he wanted to know how much money everybody had, and how much he could therefore tax them. So he sent his men round to go and, how much do you have? And they had to write down how many pigs they had, how much land they had, how many buildings they had, all that sort of business, and they wrote it all down. So the Domesday Book tells us that these castles led to the destruction of so many houses. So there you go. Now, the bottom bit Why were castles so important for the Normans to conquer England? The answers are in there. I'd particularly look towards question 3 and 4 and 5. So yeah, the 3, 4 and 5 are going to be crucial as clues as to why castles were so important for the Normans to conquer England. Best of luck with that.